What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Today, I was able to pick up one of my personal grails from Hot Toys Collectibles, Farm Boy Luke Skywalker. Now, truthfully, I don't use the word grail very lightly, but when I close my eyes and think about Luke Skywalker, this is truthfully the version that comes to mind. I freaking love this character. I cannot wait to have this guy in my collection. He's already on the shelf, so he's not even in the box. I'm cheating a little bit, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to unbox him. We're going to talk a little bit about the price, whether he's worth some of the aftermarket prices I'm seeing, which are a little dodgy, let's be honest. But if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, this is obviously an older figure. This was released back in 2015. So we're going on 7, almost 8 years since this bad boy came out. This will naturally factor into my review of the figure, but I also want to keep that in mind kind of moving forward, because I don't expect it to be a 2022 quality.
What a piece of junk!
The box art is relatively standard from what we've seen for the last, I want to say, 7-8 years of Hot Toys Star Wars releases. When you unbox it, you get a chance to see this art print underneath, and it's really nice. It showcases the actual figure himself, not just, you know, a picture of Luke Skywalker from the film. You get to see the Han Solo up in the top corner, the Millennium Falcon, and the 3 different looks that you can actually pull off with this specific figure in the box. When you open the flap, that's when you get a chance to see the figure in the clamshell. And, I mean, honestly, considering the age, you can tell that Hot Toys has been sticking to this model for quite some time. And there's a lot of stuff in this box, I will give it that. I want to say almost a DX release. If it had black foam, you could have honestly fooled me. But I think it looks initially really nice. Getting out of the box, of course, standing him up here, I really see the likeness here for Luke Skywalker or Mark Hamill. Now, I'll honestly say when I was thinking about getting this figure, I looked at reviews, I looked at photographs, and to be honest, I was kind of on the fence with the likeness. I wanted to give it at the time like maybe a 6 out of 10. Getting him in hand, it's way better than I expected. Like, way better. Now, that's the likeness. I see Mark Hamill here. I see Luke Skywalker, especially having him in hand. The body is a bit of a different story. He definitely has the single jointed elbows, which for posing makes it really tricky. Because of the loose nature of his outfit, you see those really ugly wrist pegs pretty darn easily. But again, age of the figure, you can't hate on it too much by any stretch. The neck specifically has really good speckling and freckles, just like the face paint does. Down at the boots, these shin guards do slide around slightly, giving the body some ankle articulation, which is really nice, makes him a little bit more posable. And again, because of the looseness of the outfit, his range of movement is actually pretty good. Now, my figure, his ankles are a little bit on the loose side, but if I slide those shin covers down slightly, I can kind of position it slightly better. Here again, just showing it is official Hot Toys quality with the stamp on the bottom from 2015. No tread on the boots though, however. So keep that in mind in terms of posing and posability, I should say. Now, there's a couple things that I noted in the box right off the bat that I think we should highlight with regards to this figure. He comes with this crazy poncho. Now, I rewatched the film and I may have missed it because I was also working on the review. I don't actually remember seeing him wear this poncho. Now, Star Wars fans, please don't hate me. If I missed it, I missed it. I'll go back and rewatch it, I swear. But it's actually really cool. It's very well made. The material is extremely soft, and there's a really nice wire that comes all the way around the edge. He also comes with this cool training helmet from that iconic scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi when he's first learning about the Force and how to wield the Force.
With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight?
He's supposed to feel the Force, guys, right? And I think that's really cool. It's a great inclusion. This helmet does separate at the midsection, so you can slot it around the head sculpt with a hairpiece on. I'll show you guys that a little bit more later, because I actually found that to be difficult, and I cheated a little bit. This hat, I think, is hilarious, but really well made. It doesn't want to sit on the figure, though, which is a strange inclusion in my opinion. When the figure has his hairpiece on, even with the unique hairpiece that he comes with, it doesn't look right. It still sits up really high, and honestly, I'd probably never pose it that way. Now, of course, he does come with a lightsaber, as well as a lightsaber lit up arm piece that I'll show you after, and with the blue iconic kyber crystal, and I think it looks really nice. Now, I'm pretty confident this is actually the lightsaber from Empire Strikes Back, and not A New Hope. I could be wrong there, fact check me if I am, but it's passable enough. I think to the average Star Wars fan, you would have no clue that that was the case. But I think I may have pegged that, so let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the lightsaber. This is the light up arm that we've seen with other figures, especially in the last couple of years. Now, thankfully, because of the loose fitting clothing, this actually slots into the arm really easily. I'm not planning on using this piece, so I didn't put the battery in to show you guys. Again, I know if that's sacrilegious, I apologize, but I want to maintain the value of this figure, so this is going to be something that actually stays in the box. I'm not going to be posing it, but I do think it looks really good. Just make sure you don't pull that saber out of his hand. Now, since we're on the topic, the hands that come with this figure, again, for the age of the figure, are actually pretty well painted. You do see some of his freckling and some of that line work for his weather marks in his hands. I do think that looks nice. His knuckles look like they're worn. I do think that also looks really good. This particular piece is one of my favorite accessories. This does slot over his pleather belt. Now, I'm a little nervous to do that because I don't want to break anything, but I do like that the lenses look like they're glass on this side. I think that that's a great inclusion. I think this piece looks really well painted, and I really like that the dials on the side have those ridge lines, just like essentially a pair of binoculars would have, right? This also does come with a little piece that slots on the back as well as kind of a viewfinder. I didn't add that on for the sake of this imaging, but I think it looks pretty cool when it's all set up. The goggles he has are actually pretty nice as well. I will say that it does slot over that hat that we saw earlier for that kind of farm boy Luke look with the poncho and the hat and the goggles. That is not a look that I'm planning on setting up with this figure, and to be honest, because of that strap on the backside, I'd be so worried that if I try and slot that around, it's going to break and honestly devalue the release. Because it's not the iconic look for me, I won't display it that way. Now, this is one of my favorite accessories in the box. This is again from that scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi when he's training with the visor down on the helmet and he's trying to feel the Force and actually, you know, essentially wield his lightsaber against this moving droid. I think it's really cool. It's almost like a diorama display within the box. Again, this gives me feelings of DX release, to be honest. But I think, again, that's a very, very cool inclusion. These two pieces, the one slots on the belt as just an additional canister. I'm not 100% sure what it is, to be honest. And that square bit was that part on the binoculars, like I was mentioning. Now, the base definitely reminds me of some of the bases we've gotten with Stormtroopers in the past, but I do like that it's a metal nameplate. I think that's pretty premium looking, but I don't usually use bases with my figures, so again, this will be one that likely stays in the box. This does not have a dynamic waist grabber on it, it is just the standard crotch grabber. But I also love that they included this in the box. Now, this gun obviously comes from the scene where they're looking for R2-D2 and C-3PO after, you know, fighting a little bit with some of the Tusken Raiders. I think it's a really cool inclusion, and it's actually, you know, I guess especially for its age, pretty well painted. I like the mechanisms on it. I like that little strap on it there. Some of the gun rifling on it looks really nice, really well painted, as I said, but it's not something that I think about when I think of Luke Skywalker. So it's cool that we got it in the box, but not necessarily something that I'm going to display with my Luke. Now I'm going to pose him a little bit here, very lightly for the most part. You know me, I normally do like to pose my figures up a little bit more than this, but because again of the age of the figure, I do want to be delicate because I want to preserve its overall future value, and value is something that I wanted to address here. This figure originally came out in the $240 range. Now, I'm seeing this figure going from anywhere from 500 Canadian dollars as high as 900 Canadian dollars, which is still, you know, 380, 400 US dollars. I think for what you get in this package, that original 240 was an excellent value. I would never pay the $500 to $900 for this figure now. I think that we're getting close enough to the 50th anniversary of A New Hope that there's always the chance we're going to see a reissue of this guy. I wouldn't necessarily buy backwards, as happy as I am with this release. I ultimately only paid $300 Canadian for this guy, which again is in the $215 US dollar range. I think it's important to note that, and only because, again, there's no way I would have justified bringing this guy into my collection at the aftermarket prices we've been seeing. It's just too expensive, and as much as I think the figure is awesome and I think the likeness is excellent, there are still some challenges with this figure. It's not perfect likeness. The body is subpar in comparison to what we're seeing now with bodies. I would want to almost do a body swap with this guy. Again, you just get into some of those escalating costs, so it's really something to pay attention to. Unless you absolutely need to have this grail in your collection, I might recommend waiting to see if another version comes out with a reissue. Now, while I was talking there, I gave you guys kind of a bit of a preview of what he looks like without his hairpiece on. It gives me AI vibes, I'm not gonna lie. I do think, though, that the hair is actually somewhat what takes the likeness away from this character. Without the hair, I actually think it looks more like Mark Hamill than with the hair, which I think is a bit of a strange phenomenon. I think it's something that they struggle with Luke for some reason on even current modern day releases of the figure. It's still really good, don't get me wrong, but there's something there that throws it just ever so slightly. Also, because this is not a DX release, he doesn't have the rolling eye system, so he's got a bit of a blank stare, I'm not gonna lie, kind of just a bit of a dead stare. Now, this is where the hat does not slot onto that specific hairpiece. It actually looks better without any hair at all. So if you want to give Luke Skywalker a shave job and make him look like Mr. Clean under the hat, there you have it. That's the way to do it. Now, if you wanted, the goggles do slot over this particular hairpiece just a little bit better. Now, again, I think based on the promo images, the goggles should actually go over top of the hat, but you can see that you could use this hairpiece in order to slot it around the face. Again, I'm worried about damage, guys, so I apologize. I'm not going to preview that on a pose today, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. And here's the difference between both hair pieces. They're actually really well painted for their age. You can definitely see the different strands of coloration throughout the hair, and I like the waviness on the side. The one hair piece does make him look pretty funny, though, I'm not gonna lie. So unless you try and get the hat on, I don't think I would ever use that piece. Now, I also mentioned the possibility of, if you were to buy this figure, you may actually want to consider a body swap. So I've gone ahead and popped his head right off to show you what the ball peg looks like underneath, and essentially just that he's got the magnet on the top, which helps with the hairpiece, but mostly so you can see what the neck looks like as well. So if you guys are deciding on a body swap down the line, make sure you match it well, but this is how the head slots on to that figure, so just something to note. But for my final thoughts on this piece, I would say that even despite its age, and despite the body not being perfect, for today's standard, not for the time, let's be honest, I would still honestly give this figure easily an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I think the likeness is fantastic with Mark Hamill, and he is just an excellent representation of New Hope Farm Boy Luke in my collection. I absolutely love it, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this figure? Do you have this guy in your collection, or is it a grail status figure that you've been looking for as well? I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. I also appreciate the support on the channel. We've just crossed over 555 subscribers, so if you're new to the channel, definitely hit the like button for me if you can, if you liked this video especially. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will, of course, catch you guys on the next Hot Toys figure review, toy tour, all the good stuff this channel has to feature. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
I come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing for me here now. I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.